Hello, good morning. Am I audible? Hello. Hmm. Yes. Hello. Guys, please respond me. Am I audible? Thank you. Hmm. Right. So yesterday we have seen like how to create the service and how do we make a get call, right? How to make a get call and how to fetch the data and how to display the data. So those are the things that what I have explained. Now in today's session, we will see the remaining things also. But before that, as I told you, whenever if you people are working on the remaining things, that is post, put to delete. We have like, when it comes to app development, we have different things are available. Those are like, what? You can see get the post, put to delete. But whenever if you are doing like, the get and post, sorry, get, we don't need to worry much about it because it just used to get the data from the server. That data is existed and we are going to get that particular data from back end to the front end. That is how the get is working. But coming to the post, put to delete, we supposed to share some data from front end to the back end, right? Tell me, yes or no? That means, let's say this is our server application and this is our client application. And a client application can be built with the help of what? Angular. And server application, maybe it is using some server side technology, irrespective for us. It doesn't matter for me. Now, here in this particular scenario, to provide a communication in between these two, that means from the front end to the back end and the back end to the front end application. We use what? We use what? HTTP service. We use what? HTTP service. Am I right? Tell me. Hello. 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 Why today people are not responding quickly? What happened? Is there any holiday today? Hmm? All right. Hmm. Then respond quickly. Okay. Very good. Right. So we use what? HTTP client. We use what? HTTP client, which will make like, the server calls. That means from client to server and server to the client. Whenever if you want to do, there you can use it. Now here, there are two different type of interaction. That means the first one is going to be getting the data from the server and displaying the data in a client. Okay. This is what we call it as get, I can say. Okay, server is maintaining some data and that data we will be getting and display within the Angular application with the help of the component or service, whatever it might be. You can do that one. That is all comes under the get. Now, apart from the get, as I already told you, we have like, different things that we are going to perform. That means the first thing is going to be post. So post is something like what? User may enter, let's say, some data, employee ID 101, employee name Srikanth, and salary is 12345. Like that, they entered some data. That data has to be posted to the server. That means inserted on the server. And at the same time, if user has modified some data, then that is what we call it as a put request that what we are having. That is what generally we may call it as an updater. Or else I can say it as going to be the put that what I can say. And the next one is going to be, if we can just expand it once again, and then we have what? We have what? The next one is going to be deletion. Suppose if user wants to delete something, then first user has to give like what they wanted to delete from the back front end to the back end, right? Suppose I wanted to delete 101. This 101 value we have to carry from the front end to the back end. Or else maybe you can go with the patch, whatever it might be. These three operations are going to be performed at the server side by taking the input from the front end, right? But when it comes to the get is going to be something like we are going to get the data from the existing server. We are going to get the data from the existing server. That is how like, the get request is. But when it comes to the post, okay, when it comes to the post request, put request or delete request, we must have to, take that input from the user. So to take that input from the user, we must and should have a concept of forms. So now today's session onwards, maybe today and tomorrow, 2 days it might take. So now what I'm trying to do, I'm explaining you a new concept here. That is what Angular forms. Srikanth, so far like we have discussed about, we have seen like, the forms also in previous examples. But that is not exactly how we are building it in the real time by using what? Angular. Angular will provide a beautiful way to make use of the forms in order to, by performing the validation and also doing like, the many things. That is what the reason, what I'm trying to do, I'm going to show you how we make use of the forms with respect to the Angular. That is what we are trying to see it in today's session. So the today's concept is going to be Angular forms implementation. Okay, Angular forms. Now, when it comes to that Angular, Srikanth, what is the difference here? In Angular, we have two different forms. Two different forms are available. Those are, first one is going to be template driven forms, and second one is going to be model driven forms. So the first one is going to be template driven forms, and second one model driven form, and this is also known as reactive forms. Because like, some interesting guys, they are asking at the end, Srikanth, reactive forms is not yet covered. Reactive forms or else model driven form, both are same. Okay, reactive form is another name for the model driven, or model driven is another name for the reactive. Understand? So totally we have two different types of forms are available. One is the template driven form, another one is the model driven form, and also known as reactive forms. Now, what is template driven form? So template driven form, first we will start with template driven form. Template driven forms. Now here, these forms, these forms are configured everything, and handled everything, at view level, at view or presentation or HTML level, I can say. Understood now? That means template driven forms are configured everything and handled everything at a view level, and some people may call it as a presentation, and some people may call it as a HTML, and some other people may call it as a UI also. Any name is fine. Okay, any name is fine. That means everything we are going to handle within the HTML page. How we are going to handle? Because it uses a design pattern that is MVVM. Did you remember? Did you remember MVVM architecture? I have already explained you about how we can do that by creating a template reference variable. There itself we can handle everything. MVVM stands for model to view and also view to model, that part I can give. So it uses a design pattern that is going to be an MVVM where it stands for model view, and then we have view model, that what I can say. And where all these forms are available, these forms okay are available these forms are available in a library that is I can say that simply it is going to be forms module. Understand? Forms module, that means these are available in a library, that is, sorry, Angular slash forms is the library, and it is available in forms module. That means to work with this template driven form, the very first thing what you have to do is we have to include the forms module. And okay, we have to include what? The forms module. And where this module is available, it is available under at the rate Angular slash forms library that we are having. There you can have it. Understand? Understand so far? Tell me. Hello. Hello. Right. Very good. And another thing is here forms are represented with, here the forms are going to be represented with what? NG form, NG form I can say, and at the same time, and controls are nothing but that input controls, and input controls are represented with, I can say, NG model. That means forms are represented with NG form and controls are represented with NG model, I can say. Okay, controls are represented with NG model. Srikanth, what exactly it is? I will show you a simple syntax so that you can understand. Now, I wanted to create a form. Now, how to create a form? Form you can use and create a template reference variable. That is what we call it as a model. Okay, now what I can do, I'm going to use something like form register is equal to, this should be represented with the help of ng form. This should be represented with the help of ng form. And the next, a form will contain all the input elements, right? Right? I'm having a form is having what? All that input element. So how can we get that input elements to here? In order to get that particular element, what I can do for every input element, I can say input maybe type is equal to, as an syntax, I'm just giving it the text here. And also it should be given an ng model, and also create a reference variable. Maybe you can give any name to this one. I'm giving username is equal to, one more time you can give an ng model key. That is what this point tells. A form is represented with ng form, and input control is represented with ng model. Understand? Ng model that we are having. Clear na? Clear about this? Tell me. Right. I will show you how we can make use of it by taking a simple example, and later we will see how we can use that in a complex example as well. So to do that one, first what I can do is I'll go to my location where I'm having all that example. I'll be creating. That is the syntax, Abhishek. If why I have written like the function. Suppose let's say I created a function like this. Why you follow like that means? Did you understand my question? Why you follow this means this is a syntax. In the same way, when you are doing like the more template driven forms, dealing with the template driven form, as it follows like that MVVM architecture. So as the process of it, this is the syntax. We should give an ng model to make this field as dynamic, and also whatever the data we are getting from here, that needs to be assigned to this variable. That is where like 2 times has to be given. Now what I want to do, I'm creating a simple form. Simple form. Before that, instead of creating directly here, I'll create a new project. Let me close all here, and then I'll be creating a new application. So that NGG, what I wanted to generate, application, and then I'm giving forms demo is my application. Do you want to include the routing? It is asking you. I'll say yes and go with the CSS. And it might take a minute for us to download and then install, not more than that. Now it was done. Now I'll go to the forms demo. We have that SRC, a very basic sanity that what I can do. I'll go to my styles where I can import the bootstrap item. We'll go to the node module, bootstrap test CSS, where I can give bootstrap dot CSS that what I can give, and then following with another import statement where I can go with the 2 steps, 3 steps back, where we have that node module, and in that bootstrap icon, we have the font, and then bootstrap icons dot CSS. So this is ready. Now the next thing is going to be what we have to generate. We have to generate a component so that I'll right click and then open with that integrated terminal. Let us close everything what we have here. Okay, sorry. Let us open this one and use the command prompt and clear the screen and then generate a component. NGG, G for the generate. I just wanted to generate a component, and this is an example for a template form, I can say, and then hyphen skip hyphen test that what I get. Now it is taking a minute to get it done. Now it is done. I'm sorry. Now it is done. Okay. Now I'll go to my app here, template form. Let's go to the HTML. Okay. Let us go to the HTML. Now, how to create the HTML? I hope you know that very clearly. I'll be taking a simple div where I'm going to have a container. And then, as I told you, whenever we created a form, the form should be decorated. The form should be decorated. The form should be decorated with the help of a template reference variable. Now I'm going to use, let's say, I'm creating a form to take the registration process, and there I can go with ng form. Clear now? That is what I told you. Whenever you design a form, if you people are following template driven form, the form should contain a template reference variable, and that should be assigned to the ng form. Okay, ng form. That is the first one. Later, what I am trying to do, I am going to submit the request. I hope these are all the events, like the way how we have the click event, mouse event, keyboard event, different events that we have seen. And with respect to the form also, we have an event that is what we call it as submit. Shrikant, when this submit will work, whenever if user has clicked on the submit button, then this will work. Okay. Now what I can do, I'm going to use here maybe some function that is submit click. Then what I supposed to submit, whatever the data this form is having, I'm going to submit all the data. Now what we are having, how to get it? Simply I can give form register dot, we have the value. There is a property, the property name is the value property. By using that you can get all the data that is associated in the form. Clear now? Clear now? Tell me, everyone. Now I don't have this method defined, so that let me go to the TS file and then create that particular method and write whatever you. That's it. Then maybe I can say that the data and the type is going to be any, that what I can say. That's it. Any questions, guys, so far here? Tell me. Any questions? No questions? Now you can see the time when I'm giving an ng form, it is showing me no directive form with an export as ng form. That means it is not understanding. Why it is not understanding? Because as I told you, all these ng form or else template driven form are available in a module that is going to be the forms module. We must have to include the forms module, then we don't have any errors. Clear now? So what I'm doing here, you can see that forms are represented with ng form. Input controls are represented with ng mode. Now how I have created a form here, form, and then I use a template difference variable. I use a template reference variable. Here the name can be anything. Name can be anything, but it should start with hash. Whenever if something start with the hash, that is what we call it as template reference. Okay, that means we are internally following MVVM, that is the view model and model view architecture. Now I am following that architecture and I am assigning ng form here. And also when user click on submit, I am going to execute a function that is a submit click function. What function it is? Submit click. Shikant, why you have taken here? Maybe you can take it in a, let's say, a button. Yes, you can go with that, man. Because so far, these many days, we have seen click event, mouse event, keyboard event. That event to show you a new event, I used here the submit click. If you don't want to go, then no need to worry. Take a button and then you can do whatever you understood. Clear na? Right. Now you can see this is like, the form that we are having. Now what I can do, I'll take a simple message to the user, template driven form I can say, template driven form I can give, and where I can give a HR tag, where I can give a HR tag, I'll be taking a DL and I'm taking a DT, enter username, enter username, that what I can give. And after that, I'll take a DD. What about submit? This is a function, man. I defined the function here. See this. That is where I told you, don't learn anything like an example. Don't learn anything like an example. I told you many times to you. Generally, if I write something like this, button, and when I click get data is the method. Just assume that maybe let's say I have like this, and after that I'll copy this, and when I call get data, everyone will understand. Abhishek, are you able to understand this one, right? Yes or no? Tell me. Uh, then what is the difference here and there? Tell me. Here I used which event? Click event. Here I used which event? For the form, we don't have the click event. So that what I have used? Submit event. Now, when submit event is happened, I am submitting my data to this particular method. That is where I created a method here. And at the same time, at the time of submitting, I'm going to share all the data that is available in my form. So that to get the data, I used a parameter. Understood? So always this is what form register, this is a variable. By using this variable, we are getting all the data. That is how it is going. Okay, very good. Now I'll remove it. Learn like a concept. That is important. Now, okay, enter username that we are having. Now, what I can do, I'm going to use an input type as going to be the text, and a name is equal to whatever the name you guys wants to give, you can give, and I'm giving it as username or something. And if you wanted to give any ID, you can, but it is not much important. Leave about it. Now, as I told you, a form is represented with ng form. Now, control is represented with what? What I told you. Control is represented with the input controls are represented with ng model. So how I can do that one? To do that, what I can do? First, I use ng model here, and at the same time create a variable. Okay, create a variable so template reference variable. Maybe I can use the same variable and then different give with ng model here. See, when the dollar event Thirumalesh is, whenever if you want to get the complete access of this form tag, then you can give dollar event. But right now, my requirement is what? I don't need anything with respect to the form. I need only value which user has entered with the help of the form. Am I right? Tell me. Yes or no? I don't need like anything. I'm not doing anything with respect to the form. Rather, what I'm doing, I'm going to share only the data which is associated inside the form. For that reason, I use this template reference variable dot value. Dollar event, what it will do? It will be getting the complete reference. Unnecessary. Why should I get the complete reference? Tell me. That is the reason. Now this is the first one. In the same way, what I can do, I'll be taking another DT here. Maybe I can say enter, or else let's say select age I can give. Select age I can give, and I am having the DD, and input to type is going to be a range icon. I'm not going with like any complex example. First, we will understand the basic level. Later, anyhow, we will be using this one directly in the integration part. There you can understand. Now, what I can do, I'm going to use age is equal to ng model. And the next one is going to be, let's have another DT here. I wanted to go with some select option. Okay, select option that what I can give. Let's say select city or something that what I can give. I'll go with the DD, and there I can give select and the name is equal to, you can give some name over there. ID is not required. And for this one also, decorate with ng model and give some name to that, and then city is equal to ng model I can say, and provide the city information. I'll be giving a different option to the user. So the first one is going to be, let's say Hyderabad, and the second option is going to be, let me give the next option here is, let's say, Delhi. And after that, the third option is I'm sorry, third option is going to be, maybe you can say Mumbai or what. So this is how I have given. Clear? Now this is what generally a form. Now after completing all these things, then what I can do, I'm going to have a simple registration button so that I can say a button, and when user click on it, let me write something like register. See, there is no difference here, guys. Again, I'm repeating. Earlier, what we have done, we are submitting by clicking on it, right? But now what I'm trying to do, I just wanted to cover another way to submit the data. How I submit it? By using the submit, which is available, an event. This is an event which is available on my form, and this is going to be happen. Now, what I can do here, whatever the data I'm getting, I'm going to display that particular data to the end user. I'm going to display the data to the end user. So how I can do that one? Simply, let's write an alert here. Okay. And I'm going to display the data that what I'm getting. Just you can save it. Now you can run this particular one. Right now, we are not doing any complexity here. Later, I'll add like one by one validation and all. But right now, this is how it is. I'll go to my index.html where I can remove it, and then, oh, I'm sorry. I'm giving it over here. And after that, go to that app module. Right now, the app component is the one, but I'm changing it to template form component and closing it over there. Let us run this application. ngs-o project, and what project it is? Forms demo, and then click on OK. What it is? Forms demo. Correct only, right? So what I have done. ng sir. Correct. Cannot determine the project for command. Strange. No need. Whatever that, see, how I am giving like only that name, whenever you created a new project, angular.json will get updated. You can see that. Here, whatever the name we have created with the same name, we call the application. Now here it is going to be forms demo, and I'm using the same, right? I'm using the same only. Let's clear ng yes -o project is equal to forms demo. I don't know, like sometimes it is behaving well. No need. See, it is working now. Now it is working, man. If you can see. So this is how it is going to be right now. Now you can see when user has given the username as admin@gmail.com, and user has given some age, and user has selected some city, and then click on register. Okay, nothing. It is showing me object. Now I'll be converting that into a JSON format. It's a quite simple one. I'll be using what? You can see JSON dot, okay, JSON dot stringify this data that what I can, and save it, and then you can come here, and here you can see enter age. I'll be giving some age here, Delhi, and then click on register. Now you can see username, I'm having an admin, and the age is 17. and city is going to be Delhi. But here you can see, am I created anything with respect to the TypeScript? See that? Am I created any property in the TypeScript? Tell me. Hello? Am I created anything? Obviously, no. Now, what I have done here only, I'm creating everything. That means here only I'm creating everything, and here only I'm accessing everything. So that is what, like, modal view and view model. In between or in the middle between the modal and view, we don't have any kind of components, or else we don't have any kind of controllers. Understand? We don't have any component, and we don't have any kind of controllers defined it over there. That is how it is going to be. Now, what I can do is, I mean, what is that advantage to create these kind of forms? We have advantages. JSON.stringify will convert that object into JSON format. It's a JavaScript method. That is where the beginning session I told you, basic JavaScript is knowledge is required here. Okay. It's a method used to convert a JavaScript value to a JavaScript object notation. Okay. Here it is giving the data, but the data is in Java object, JavaScript object. Now I'm converting into JSON. Okay. Right. Now you can write, I'm writing here. So advantages are going to be two. The first advantage is going to be what? It reduces number of requests. That is the first one. Okay. And the second one is going to be JSON.stringify. Is used to convert JavaScript object into JSON format. Okay, perfect. Now, coming back to here, the first advantage is what? It reduces the number of requests. That means number of requests are going to be less, because everything we can have it over there. We can see the age what we are selecting while sliding down. For that, again, we need to include the bootstrap icons. Abhishek, it's a different story. Okay, it's a UI. Generally, like it is the UI people will do generally, not like Angular developers. They made like that. They're giving you. Then whatever like you're getting, you can use an ng model and display. Okay, right. So it reduces the number of requests, and also the second advantage is going to be, because of the number of requests are going to be reduced, it improves the load time, I can say. Loading time will get improved. That has the advantage. But like, we have a lot of disadvantages, I can say. I mean, not lot. We have like couple of disadvantages are there. Those are going to be the first one. First one is going to be no code separation. That means there only we have the variable, there only we have the HTML, there only we are doing the binding and everything. We are doing at the HTML level only, right? Yes or no? Everything you can see, there only we have what? HTML. There only we created the variable, and there only we write that event. There only like, we do the data mapping. Everything is going to be happen at one place. There is no code separation. That is the first one. And second one is going to be no much reusability, and also I can say extensibility. All these are the issues actually. Extensibility is also there. And at the same time, UI is very heavy. Okay, very heavy and slow in slow in rendering. UI is going to be very heavy and slow in rendering. These are the disadvantages. Okay. Then when do we use the template driven forms? When do we use template driven forms? I can say an answer for this one is going to be we always use template forms. I can say template forms when we want a form with stable and limited functionality. That means we have, let's say, one or two items, nothing more than that. Let's say you may take a login form. Login form may contain enter username and enter password, nothing more than that. You may take, let's say, registration form. It might have, first name, last name, and all, like step blah blah, like whatever we have, like we can have many. So whenever, if you people are having a very stable and limited functionality, okay, limited functionality, and it is not required, it is not required, it is not required regular regular extensions. That means we don't have, like, very frequent changes. Suppose you may take a login page. Once you've created a login page, is it changing every time? Tell me. Is it changing every time? Tell me. Obviously, no. Enter username, enter password. That is done. Sometimes, like some people may say, do you want to remember the password? One checkbox, and that is the standard functionality. But coming to the registration page may vary, right? Some people may take first name, last name, let's say middle name, gender information, caste information, nationality information. Like that, they might take different implementations. But coming to the login won't be changed. If you people are having a login related functionality, that is the stable and the limited functionality, and the functionality won't be changed very frequently, then you can go with the template driven forms. Understood? Tell me. Understood? Tell me, guys. Clear now? Hello? Right, very good. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to do the validations to this particular one. Okay. So far, like what we have done, we just have, like, created a form, nothing apart from that one. Now here what I can do, I'm going to write let's say template form .html. Here what I have done, I created a form. Now I can say template form .ts I can give. I wrote, like, very simple logic, nothing apart from that one. But this is not only the only requirement where I have taken it as a separate session, because we must have to do the validations. Now, what is meant by a validation here? What is meant by a validations here? What is meant by a validations here? Generally, what is a validation means? What is meant by validation in general? Tell me. Guys, please respond. The people who say good, I'm not giving any kind of Bhaskar awards, right? Right. Can I say validation is a process of verify user input, I can say. Validation is the process of verifying the user input, I can say. That is what exactly we call it as a validation. Okay. So why it is going to be very much helpful here? If you are not validating the data, then people might store or people might send unwanted data, right? Some contradictory data, what they are sending from front end to the back end, and that data would be saved on the back end application. That data would be saved on my back end application. If that is a case, if the data is going to be saved at the back end application, that is like wrong data, then we are unnecessarily wasting the space, right? Yes or no? We are unnecessarily wasting the memory. So to avoid that kind of situation, validations are very important. That means validations are required to ensure that contradictory, okay, contradictory, contradictory and unauthorized data. That means validations are required to ensure that contradictory and unauthorized data is not going to store on databases, is not going to be stored on the database. That what I can say is not going to be stored it on the database. Now, how the validations are going to be? Do we have the validations only on the client side? Means no. Validations are required in both the ways. That is, first one is going to be from the client, and second one is going to be from the server. Now, client is not required. Server is not required for us. Server is not required for us. That's up to you. And we are going to handle how we can do at a client side only. Now, when it comes to the client side, to do that, we use what? JavaScript. Later, the JavaScript, people are using what? jQuery. And later now, I am using what? Angular. That's it. So that means generally what happened, writing JavaScript is a tedious task for the developer. So that what happened, jQuery they released in the market, but even in jQuery also, we have like, lot of functionalities like string functions, let's say mathematical functions, array functions. We supposed to use all those functions in order to perform the validation. Now, if all the functions are going to be writing, then we can do that. But how we can ensure the validations in Angular means in Angular, validations are provided with the validation services are available. And those services, what it will do is it won't allows you to write much logic. It is not required you to write much logic over. So directly we can make use of it. So how we can use it? So in Angular, we can have two states of validations. Two steps of validation. First one is going to be form level. Okay. Form state validation. Second one is going to be control state validation. One is form state, another one is control state validation. Control state or input state also you may call. When it comes to like the validation part, here I can say one more important point I forgot to mention here. Okay, these validations are else like in Angular, we have validation services are available. Services are available, and these services will use HTML validation zone. Do you know by writing the HTML also, we can validate the data. We can validate the data. So what are the HTML validations are available? Maybe I can say required is the one, and at the same time min length is the one, and at the same time max length is the one, and at the same time min is available, max is available, email is available, number is available, URL is available. All these are what I can say validation services which are provided by the HTML, and these services only will be used by the Angular validation service with the help of template driven. That means if these validations are going to be working fine, then it gives you a state of the form. Now, what are the states we are having? What are the states we are having here? A form or a control comes with different states that are available. Now I can say the states here, state, and for that each state we have the property, and we have a type for that one, and I'm going to write a description also for this particular one. Description also. Now what state it is going to be? So the first state is going to be, let's say, ng pristine, I can say. What is the first state? Ng pristine. Now for that one we have a property that is pristine is available, which is of type, I can say, boolean. And what it will do, it returns true if no field no field in the form modified. Shrikant, what exactly all this? This is a kind of messy. It's not like that. A simple scenario I'm telling you. Suppose, let's say, I'm going to open, okay, a simple Gmail form. When I give, let's say, gmail.com, when I say about gmail.com here, now see what happened. Oh, sorry. When I say gmail.com, what happened here? It is showing me enter email. But is it displaying any kind of error messages? Tell me. At this moment, me, it is displaying any error message? No. That means the first thing what user has to interact with the form, and then only the validation should be happen, right? Yes or no? User has to interact with the form, and then only the validation should be happen. So how we come to know that the user is interacted with the form or not? For that reason, Angular, what it is doing, it provides some services here. What service? That is what is state. Simply I can say state. What is the first state? ng pristine. ng pristine. Now it gets a property and which is of type boolean. What it will return? It return the true if no field is modified in the form. That means if there is no field modified, is it required to perform the validation? Tell me. Tell me. Is it required to perform the validation? Is that like no required, right? Not required. That is what I can say. But here you can see once if user has interacted and user has not given anything, then I can display a message. That means user interaction is done. User interaction is happened. At that time, I can display a message. So to get that particular states, we have what? ng pristine is one state which will be true if no field is modified. Suppose if user has interacted with the field, any of the field from the form, if user has interacted with the field, then that is going to be ng dirty, and we have a property that is dirty, and the type is going to be boolean, and what it will do, it returns true when user, okay, or else like any one field, any one field in the form modified, I can say. Understood the difference between these two? ng pristine is one service which contains a property that is pristine and the type is boolean. What it will do? It will return the only if the field is not modified. If the field is modified, then it will return false. And exactly similar to the opposite. Sorry, exactly opposite is what? ng-dirty. It is a service. What it contains? It contains a property that is dirty property. And what type it is going to be? It's a Boolean type. And it returns true when one field, at least any one field is modified, then it will be like this. Clear now? Clear or not? Tell me. Hello, hello, hello. Right. In the same way, we have another one. We have another one. I can say ng valid. ng valid. For this, we have the valid, and the type is also going to be a Boolean. That means how it is going to be? It returns true. It returns true when all the validations are success in form elements. That means within the form element, if all the validations are going to be succeeded, then what I can do? It is going to return true. And the same way, exactly opposite to this, we have what? ng invalid is available, and here it is also invalid. It returned to when, okay, when validations are success, when single validation, when single validation fail. That means valid will be valid only if all the validation, but if single validation is failed, then that will become as a invalid. That will become as a invalid. And the last one is going to be ng submitted. And this is how we are going to submit it as the property, and which is of type a Boolean, which is of type a Boolean, I can say it returns true when we submitted the form. It returns to true when we submitted the form. So how we can make use of it? It's a quite simple one. I can show you the same example. Like whatever that example we have created, now you can see what I am trying to do. So this is how it is going to be, right? Now, what I can do is, I'm going to modify this one. I'll give a class that is P2 is the class that what I can give. And at the same time, I'm going to apply few styles here. Okay. I'm going to apply few styles here. Okay. I'll apply few styles. Let's do one thing. I'll go to my component.ts where I can say invalid style. I'm writing some CSS for this. Let's go with the background color as going to be. I'll give some RGB combination, some value 247, random value I can give 194 and 194 I can say. Okay, and at the same time, let's give valid style. Some properties that what I can give, and where I can give a background color as going to be. Again, let's go with the RGB. Red is going to be 196, and then 247, and then 196 or something. That's it. Okay, I'm changing the background color based on this true and false value. So how I can do that? Now you can see at form level what I'm trying to do when I'm giving an ng class is equal to, okay, ng class is equal to what classes has to be applied here. You can see. So the first thing is going to be, I hope you remember this particular one, ng class. How we are going to use, I hope you remember. I'm using what? So the first class is going to be what class I'm going to apply? Invalid styles I'm going to apply. Just observe that. Or else let's say valid styles only you can take. I'm copying that and then giving it over here. When the valid style has to be applied here, whenever my form, that is the registration form, is valid. Suppose if my registration form is valid, then I'm going to apply this one. Suppose let's say I'll give a comma. I have another class also, that is invalid style. Okay, invalid style. When it is going to be applied, whenever, if it is going to be, that means I have my form that is invalid, I can say. Now, what is valid and what is invalid here? These are the state properties. Okay, valid and invalid, these are the state properties. Now I'm applying these two, remaining pristine, dirty, all those things that I'll explain you maybe in tomorrow's session. Don't worry, I don't want to leave you without explaining about that in a good example. Just for now, we are going to understand this one. That means when I'm going to apply the classes, suppose if it is going to be a valid, I'm applying valid style. If it is invalid, invalid styles, that what I am trying to apply it over there. And also I'll write few validation styles here. So what validation? The first one is the required. Okay, first one is going to be the required. And let's go with the minimum length as going to be 4 and the max length as going to be, let me write 10 characters. And after that, let's say age is going to be required. Okay. Okay, I have these two. Just for now, I have these two. And now, let's say here I have only one button, right? I have only one button. Now what I want to do is I am removing this button at this point. Instead of that, I'll create a button, and this is going to be disable. Disable. Suppose let's say if my form is going to be, I'm writing, we have the form register dot invalid. That means if the form is invalid, I don't want to display the register one. Disabled is an attribute that we are having for the button, which will make disability when the form is going to be invalid. And also I'll create a button. Okay, I'll create another button when it is going to be, whenever, suppose if the form that we are having, form register dot, let's say, dirty. I'm writing save as draft. Did you understand what I'm doing here? If user has not modified, you never get this button. If user has modified, then only this button has to be displayed here. That is how it is going to be. Okay, that is how it is going to be. Now, how I can use it? Now you can see, you can observe that. Let me come back here. Right now, this is how it is going to be. You can see the register button is also going to be in disabled, because validations are invalid right now. Suppose I entered a validation that is A. Now you can see I'm modifying my form so that I am able to get the save as draft button or not. Tell me. Yes or no? Now you can see, if you want, I can show you. If you right click on here, go to that inspect, and in the inspect, you can see we have the form. Right now, you can see what are the classes we are having here. NG untouched. I'm not touching the form. And NG pristine. And then invalid style. Because it is invalid, now it is showing me NG invalid. At time when I keep my mouse on here and do a modification, maybe I can say yes. Now you can see it will become as an ng dirty or not? See that? This is the form. It is become as ng dirty or not? Tell me. Yes or no? Did you observe? The time when it is an ng dirty, it is showing this button. See that? Whenever my form register dot dirty, I'm showing this button. That is the reason for the first time when you refresh it once. For the first time when you refresh it, there you can see it is not showing the button. But once if user has interacted, then it will be displaying this one. That is how the dirty and all. Now username should contain maximum of 4 to 10, so that I'll be writing Srikanth as the username, and I'm giving some value to this, and I'm giving this. Now you can see registration button is working until unless the registration is not working. Clear na? Hello. Right. So this is how we will be performing the validation at what level? Form level only. So far, if you can see, we are doing the validations at form level, but still we haven't done anything with respect to what? Control level. Now in the next session, we will understand how do we do the validations at the control level. Or what about the draft button is there but inactive and we modify it? What about the draft button is there but it is in inactive? Yes, disabled mode. Disabled. It is there in the HTML, but it is not displaying it to the user. Okay. See that. Understood now? Now I'm going to keep all these validations here. Okay. Example. Form validations. Form validation. This is the HTML. And then following with the type script. Anyhow, the same type script. Nothing is changed here. And then we have what? CSS. And then we have what? CSS. Okay, that's it. I'm going to paste everything. Let me copy everything. Angular forms. And still, as I told you, one more day is required to complete the forms. It is not like done in a day. Tomorrow also, we will be discussing the same thing, that is the forms implementation. And if anyone have an interest to come tomorrow, I'll be there at new campus. Like if anyone have an issue while practicing, any doubts, if you want me to ask, then you can just come and ask, come and meet me as well. That's up to you. Okay. I'm posting everything in one link, and also let me go here with another link also. So this is all about a template driven form, and still a simple concept is pending. It might take half an hour. So tomorrow, first we will be learning that, and the model driven won't take much time. It's very simple and it's very easy to understand and implement as well. And tomorrow session, we will be understanding that particular concept. Okay. Is it clear now? Clear for? Okay. Yeah, that's it, guys, for the day. We will continue tomorrow. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
ఇంటర్ డేట్ ఆఫ్ బర్త్ అప్లై చేశాను కదా.